Welcome to Just Relationships, the show that offers you concrete ways to make your relationships better. Whether it's your boss, your spouse, your children, or your friends, the quality of your relationships in life directly affects how you feel about yourself and the success you achieve. Your host, Dr. Duffy Spencer, a psychotherapist, telecoach, author, and seminar leader, will interview top experts to help you learn to manage this essential part of your life. And now, here's your host, Dr. Duffy Spencer.
Guess what we're going to talk about today? Relationships. Oh, wow, what a surprise. Well, I am very happy to introduce my guest to you, Jonathan Yatsky, who is a counselor, counseling psychology, and obviously a male therapist, and loves to use humor. And where is your thriving private practice, Jonathan?
My practice is right outside of Philadelphia, PA, so right by the King of Prussia Mall.
Oh, there you go. So as a male therapist and a millennial, you have a very different, unique, a valuable perspective on men and women. And it's wonderful for me to have contact with a male who is a specialist in relationships and therefore communication. You have a very intriguing approach to relationships. And you have some thoughts on love and unconditional love. And you also talk a lot about relationship secrets revealed. So what is the secret here about relationships that people should know that they probably don't?
So I think one of the biggest secrets, and this is something that's kind of perpetrated throughout our society, is the idea that love is all you need. We are taught from our culture, our media, the things we watch. I mean, think about how many Disney movies end up with a kiss that wakes up the princess, or, the prince just has to fight through, and if he can just tap into his love, he can do it. And in reality, love is a great and powerful tool, but there's so much more to a relationship. And actually, in my own practice, one of the things I found is that love is not all you need. And that unconditional love it's a nice idea, but in reality, we need so much more than that. And in fact, if we actually have some conditions in love, it can be a powerful way for us to deal with one another and take our relationships to the next level.
Oh, yes, it's kind of it's peculiar. It's to look at the concept of unconditional love, and when we think of that, we often think of parents unconditionally loving their children, and then when we're looking at adult to adult relationships, does something shift, Jonathan?
Yes. So the biggest shift that occurs, right? So you brought up the relationship between a mother and their child, or a parent and their child. And that is one built off of a love that is kind of bone deep, right? It's like, this is not only my offspring, it's the person, who I'm raising from diapers to college. No matter what they do, there's still a place where you love them. But when we go to our own relationships with one another, that's different. And in fact, I find that many of the relationships that I counsel and talk to people about, unconditional love can really be difficult, because in a way, right, and I think this is the biggest difference, is that we choose the people that we're in relationship with. Out of the entire world, you and your partner have chosen each other. And that's not like that of a child, right? As far as I'm aware, you don't choose your children before they get here. And when they do get here, sometimes it can be a very interesting surprise to see, okay, well, this is like you, and this is a little like me. They have your nose, my eyes, your temper. And that can bring a couple together. But when I choose someone, I'm basically saying, hey, I love and care about you, and therefore we should be together. But if there are no conditions, that love can go a little crazy and a little wild. A great way that I like to tell people when they give me this look when I say unconditional love is not a thing is they say, well, you know, I love my partner and I would do anything for them. And I said, great. And you got married, right? So you stood in front of somebody somewhere and made a condition. You and I till death do us part. Isn't that a condition? Isn't that sort of togetherness? You know, like I'm choosing you and no one else, and this is in front of whether it be God or a judge or the church or whatever. That's a condition. And it's when people don't uphold that condition that things can really start to go haywire.
Yes.
You know, if I walked up to my partner right now and I basically said, hey, you know, I know you love me unconditionally, and I just got to let you know I've been cheating on you with 3 other women. I have 6 kids you know nothing about. I've been sneaking out at night. I've been doing drugs. By the way, you said you love me unconditionally, so you still love me, right? And sadly, I've seen a lot of these relationships where it's like, you know, I may abuse you physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and you still love me. Stick with me, right? It's like, those aren't always the healthiest relationships.
Right. So I hear you, Jonathan, and when people may even say to someone, I still love you, but I cannot live with you because I refuse to be abused, they can say that, or they can say, I've lost my love for you because of your abuse toward me. Either one. Is there any facsimile of a sense of unconditional love between adults who choose each other? Is there another way to look at it that could sit better with you?
Yes. So one of the things that I tell people all the time is if you really think about what love really is, right? That passion, that drive, that like, you know, feeling when you think about them and you smile. And that's love. But if you think about, especially some of the relationships I've seen, a lot of people follow that kind of that heartstring until they stop loving them for the things that are going on. And so when that happens, it's kind of like, okay, you know what? Love is an aspect of it, but if you think about when you're older and your looks are gone, when maybe the sex isn't as good, or the fire of the excitement of being in that relationship for the first 6 months is gone. When you're there and the world falls on your head and your partner is the only person there to help you clean up the mess, to help you put the world back together, to be a shoulder for you to cry on, to be a strong stand and commitment for you and what you guys are about in your lives, that is powerful. And that is a way for people to express their love and their commitment, is saying, you know what? We are both human beings, deeply flawed. And even with our flaws, I choose you, you choose me. And when push comes to shove and the world seems against us, you and I are still a team, together, respecting each other's strengths, standing with each other through our weaknesses, and empowering each other to go after our dreams and live the life we want to live. And that's powerful.
I see. Yes, I understand what you're saying. Deeply flawed, we all are, and we still choose each other, and we're there through thick and thin, and one spouse or partner gets sick and the other stands by them. Yeah, I'm thinking my husband and I had a renewal of our vows for our 16th wedding anniversary. Kind of changed it up a bit.
Yeah.
And our minister said, that it's nothing short of a miracle, that people after so many years of marriage still actively choose each other. And that is really a beautiful thing. And I'm thinking about how many people are addicted to the honeymoon stage of relationships.
Right.
So, and they can live their whole lives on a honeymoon. I have this initial, as you say, this fire, this passion, and then conquered you, it's over, it's done, and now up close and personal, I see your flaws, now I'm on to the next one. And people do live that way.
Yeah.
And then according to in the Imago relationships, Hendricks, the idea of the 3 stages of relationships, the honeymoon stage, the power struggle stage, and getting to the us stage where people are allies with mature love. Yeah. Everybody has to go through, at some level or another, the power struggle stage.
Right.
So then what do you do, right?
Exactly. And you brought up an interesting point, right, of the idea that we are constant, of sticking with each other. Mm-hmm. And part of that is being able to get out of, what I call oasis-style living, right, where you are in this oasis and everything is beautiful and lush and exciting, and then you get to the boundary of that and you look out into the desert of all the things you have to tackle together and you go, you know what, this feels so good, let's just stay here. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's simply just, then there's another condition, which is that I need to be an oasis-style person with the person I'm with. Right? If I start bringing things up, start bringing in some of the desert sand from around our little oasis, what is this person going to think? Are they still going to love me? Are they still going to be there for me? When in reality, if you think about who we are and what we're about, we are people who have both a light side, a side we love to show the world, as Jung would say, our persona, and we have our shadow side, the side that we want to hide. And what if we could be and create a relationship built with the conditions of, you know what, I'm not so good at this, but where I am weak, you can be strong, and vice versa, and support each other as equals.
Beautiful, yes, and I think that what one finds in any intimate relationship after the honeymoon stage is over is a sense of disillusionment.
Yeah.
And now I can let my hair down and I'm not on with party manners, so to speak. This person, if we marry, then we are officially family. The word familiar comes from the word familial. And the term familiarity breeds contempt. So we become familiar with each other, and people don't distinguish between persona and authenticity. They can drop their persona and not understand that authenticity also means intention. So I can be honest with you, but my intention is to be kind as I am honest with you. Yeah. It's not dropping everything. When I drop my persona, what do you see? An ugly mask? No. Right. You see a person who is also deeply flawed, as we are perfectly imperfect human beings. And what do you do with that? And I hope I never have to go on a first date again. I hope that I pass before my husband does. I really find it difficult for people, the idea of almost these interviews for the dating, and trying to present oneself in the most positive light, which is very, very human. And what do you say about that, Jonathan? The idea of over time we reveal ourselves more and more.
Yeah, and if you look at any relationship that really has weathered the test of time, one of the things that I have found over my experience with my clients and within myself, with my dating life as well, is that when you can stand there and go, you know what? This is who I am. I'm standing bare before you. This is my light side, my dark side. This is who I am authentically. I am powerful where I am powerful, and I am weak where I am weak. And will you be with me in an authentic place where we accept each other for where we come from and what we can be together. Because, and back to love is not all we need, is the idea that, I can say from my own experience, I dated a girl once, and I loved her very dearly. And guess what? That love was real and true. But underneath that love were issues that I was not looking at, that I was not willing to deal with. And so when push came to shove and the light started to turn on in the room where I had been and to illuminate the desert sand I was bringing in and the upsets, worries, and concerns that were there, well, I still had to face those. And what it turned out was that love was not strong enough. Love by itself, without the commitment, without the strength, without the looking at each other and going, you know what? No matter what, you and me together. And I could go, and I draw this on I have a big whiteboard, and one of the things I draw is a boat, right? It's like I could go around and put my finger in all the leaks, right, of my relationship. Go, don't look over here. The water isn't coming in. It's fine. We're not sinking. We're fine. Love is great. I've watched The Notebook. I know that love conquers all, right? I've read Nicholas Sparks, right? And in reality, I could duct tape all those holes up, but what I really need is a new boat, a boat that fits me, not a boat that I'm trying to fit like a square peg into a round hole. And so many people are looking, right? Because, as you said, going on those first date interviews, one of my friends says, the first couple of months of dating, you're dating their representative.
Oh, how clever. Yes, yes.
And in this case, it's like, of course, we're going out, we're doing the best that we can. But we also need to be honest with ourselves and take a step back from love and go, are our morals, values, the way we see the world, what we are up to, really work? And is this a life I can create together with this person? And if so, great. And that doesn't mean it's perfect, because as you mentioned, we are perfectly imperfect people doing the best that we can. But we need to be honest, right? If let's say I have a relationship for 5 years, and I go, okay, it's time for us to have kids. I really want to have that family. And my partner goes, I don't want that.
Right.
Well, that's kind of a big deal. And where was that comment for 5 years? Where was that thought for 5 years that I should bring this up? If we can do that along the way, we can see, are we still a team? Are we on the same page? Do we want the same things? And that can be so powerful for any relationship, whether it's one that's new, one that's weathered the test of time, or one that's, getting ready to embark onto marriage or even bigger commitment.
So are we really a good fit, a good match? And I'm looking at this in a couple of different ways. Eric Fromm, in his book, The Art of Loving, talked about how people fall in love, but it's really not that it's an act. You choose someone, you love them, and you love them because you know them. He talked about knowledge being a strong component of love, and that you choose the right action with that person, as you talk about commitment. And so it's not that there was a belief, I don't think it's so prevalent anymore, but a belief that there's one soulmate and you just have to find that person and all problems will be solved. Right? Now we know we have many potential soulmates, and there are many people that we could love. But I do want to take your point, Jonathan, and the idea that is this boat repairable? Are there too many leaks and we really cannot repair it? Should we actually invest in a new boat? And I have so many people in my counseling practice that are really unhappy with their choice of mate or partner. And but they may have children, they may not, and oh my goodness, but if I leave this person, then I'll just find another person with the same set of problems. And of course, I bring myself to this new relationship with my same set of problems. Mm-hmm. So, but you are suggesting that we don't have to settle or grin and bear it per se, that there is a way to somehow tell if this person is really the right fit for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I have many clients who are in the same boat, and it's like, you know what? I have people who, they came in and they said, you know what, this boat is leaking, and what are we going to do about it? And I said, well, what do you guys want to do about it? Is this something worth fighting for? Is this something worth standing for, being uncomfortable for? Is your relationship one where no matter what comes up in our sessions, no matter what comes up in your life, are you willing to commit to a new way of being, one where you empower each other, you catch each other, and you say, we have to work on this. We can be honest about what's really going on for you. And when a relationship, like I have someone in mind, right, who came in to see me, and he came in one day, and his spouse didn't, and he goes, I am, I'm thinking I need to get a divorce. I said, really? And he goes, yeah. And I said, okay. Why? He goes, well, something unspeakable has happened. I can't even be with it. And I said, okay, well, what is it? I'm thinking this is going to be big and juicy. And he goes, so my wife, this morning, you would not believe this. I can't even get over this. I went to go get a drink of water, and I've been, I went into the cabinet, I picked out my cup, and there was a bug in the bottom of my cup, Jonathan. I'm thinking, okay. And he goes, can you believe that she puts the cups right side up to the fact that there are dust and bugs? There's a bug in my cup. I'm like, okay. And he goes, so I need a divorce.
Wow.
And I said, wait a second. Have you discussed this with her? Does she know that this bothers you? No. I mean, isn't this just common sense? Who puts the cups right side up? I said, okay, all right. So here's your homework. Go back, talk to your wife about this. Mm-hmm. If you are still committed to it, we'll talk about it next time. But have this conversation with her. Week later, they return. There are smiles, they're laughing, they're holding hands, all this. And he goes, man, you know what I didn't understand? That my wife didn't know that this bothered me as much as it does. Uh-huh. And I thought it was just common sense. Turns out, when I brought it up to her that this really bothered me, she said, okay, and turned the cups upside down. And I was like, see, sometimes, when I lead my seminars, one of the things I talk to them about is that we are all pressure cooker people. We are people who life gives us things, and we put it in our pressure cooker, and our tolerance level goes away as the water rises. And then we are at a boiling point, and we are under great pressure. And what are we going to do? We're going to explode. Unless we take the pressure off, take the top off, look at the things that are bothering us. Right? I asked my friend, how long have you been holding on to this thing about the dishwasher? He goes, at least 10 years. I was like, so what started out as a tiny spark was ready to emulate their entire relationship. And only by being honest and being willing to have the difficult, upsetting conversation, being willing to say, you know what, this really bothers me, and what can we do, instead of being problem-oriented, be solution-focused, and come up with something together. Where I'm not just pointing the blame at you and saying, you're the reason why our relationship isn't working, but instead saying, what can we do to have this work?
Absolutely, yes.
And that can be a powerful influence in any relationship. And if the people aren't willing to do the work, as you had pointed out, guess what? Then you have to look at for yourself, is this something that I am really committed to in my life?
Okay.
Having a relationship that's supportive of me, that wants the same things, that isn't going to throw me under the bus or abuse me. And if so, that might be a difficult question, but if they aren't willing to do the work, then maybe you also are deserving of someone who is.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to do the work to get there.
Right. So I think that is a very, very good gauge if the other person is willing to do the relationship work. And when I work with couples, I ask them, do you want this relationship? And are you willing to do the work? And are each of you willing to do some stretching for your partner? And when the answer is yes to all three, there is a positive prognosis. And and I just want to point out in your story, it's a communication gap, obviously, but even more, it's the idea of assumption. It's the shoulds, right? And you should know, and I am, of course, right, that cups go upside down. Versus right side up, and whatever that is, I'm reminded of Gulliver's Travels. Jonathan Swift talked about how in Lilliput Land, one side believed that the egg should be opened on the narrow side and the other on the wider side. It was brilliant that he did that satire of something as innocuous of which side of the egg you open. And so this is a great, great story. And again, assumptions, and that my way is right. And how could you see it this way or do it this way versus openness? So, Jonathan, we have just a moment, and this is wonderful. I want everyone to know I am interviewing Jonathan Yatsky, Y-A-T-S-K-Y. That's Y-A-T-S-K-Y. And your practice is just outside of Philadelphia. But I also want people to know that you are a keynote speaker, a motivational speaker. And how can people get in touch with you if they want you for a speaking engagement?
Absolutely. So you can find me, I have a couple of websites, so you can find me at my website, jonathanyatsky.com, so it's just my name, JONATHANYATSKY, and there's all the information there about who I am, what I do, the topics I talk on. I also have some booklets on how to deal with certain topics and to give people tools and skills to live happier and healthier lives. So I just came out with one on energy vampires, on how to not get drained by negative people and situations in your life. So there's that. I also have another website called unlockingme.com, which is the site for the seminar that I run. I run a bunch of seminars about everything from relationships to general tools and skills building. I also lead a weekend-long workshop called The Course, where we take tools and skills and we put them all in a weekend-long course so that people can take their lives and add some jet fuel to it to take them wherever they want to go. And I also do Facebook Lives every Thursday evening at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, where I talk about questions that people have and give people tools and skills again so that they can take on their lives and have them move forward in a powerful, empowered way to create the life they love to live.
Wow, Jonathan Yatsky, thank you so very much. JonathanYatsky.com, Y-A-T-S-K-Y. And this is Dr. Duffy Spencer saying goodbye for now and wishing you great relationships.